Okay, so in this video I want to talk about obviously different tattoo ink, about tattoo talk and this kind of thing. And yeah, let's continue. Let's start. So obviously this is just a speculation here. Is that different ink company that have make different ink, for example, a different version of blue for each company, if they have will have a different result. For example, obviously the only ink I have ever tried is from Ink Eternal, so I have no clue how well in comparison the other inks that is the same, for example similar like turquoise blue but in different company comparable to Ink Eternal, beside the vegan. But if they will stay longer in the skin, like many more years in the other ones will do. And this is probably where this is what I really want to talk about, is that especially is if with skin tone is that so that some colors that some people say is not as good as other color. For example, you say turquoise blue and red and orange, just for example, are colors that is more likelier to be more visible on darker skin tone in comparison with pink, yellow, and like light purple. But the problem with this is just that how is that is interesting. So for how can, like for example, if we say that purple is a color that do not heal as well as good as darker skin tone, but is it the color in say that makes this so that it's hard for them to heal on the darker skin tone to look good, or is something how that version of that purple is made? Is that the case? For example, what I mean with the healing. So, so the here I think the problem here is that we have to ask ourselves in some ways that is it the color or is it how the color is made that makes it so that some color works good and some color do not work as well. And because I think many obviously other thing is that that many sorry that many time when people get for example use one brand of ink, one brand, they try that color, for example purple, for example, or blue, and then they tell the other friends, the other tattoo artists, that the blue was not as a good color and darker skin tone. But they don't, probably not many tattoo artists use different brand. Most of the tattoo artists use one kind of brand they use as they took into the shop when do tattoos. They don't make different, take different brand, because if you have um, if you have different brand, then you have the problem there is that then you have to try the different version of, for example, of blue from different brands on the same customer with that skin tone to see the different result. And not many people are gonna do that. If people try once, for example, blue, and blue was a failure, they don't gonna try that version of blue again. Even if this is a different brand of an ink company, and that is the way I think we will see if this is the case that will change the result if there's a different way how the blue is made for the ink, for example. And I think so. Obviously, this is obviously a big, bit, bit problematic because of we have is the for the biggest, obviously this is the classic thing. That is the most simple thing, but also the most classic thing. The biggest problem we have is that many tattoo artists do not put up their tattoo. If they do tattoos on darker skin tone, they don't show them on their tattoo portfolios for different reasons. Many different reasons. But the other problem is that when they put up people with darker skin tone, they only show the tattoo when the tattoo is new. And this, when I say every time, this is a huge problem because of when other people, other customers with darker skin tone, they only see 1% of that tattoo. They don't see how that tattoo looks after this tattoo have healed 100% on the skin. And some tattoo is, for example, green. That, for example, if you use ink eternal, for example, and use lime green, it's not going to be huge differences when they heal because this is so strong colors. It's very dark, very powerful. It's dark green, so it's not, you're not going to see it very clearly the differences. But for example, if you use, for example, always where the placement, how big the tattoo is, and so on. Some part of the body is more darkened than other parts of the body. But also that, for example, if you use, for example, electric raspberry, that is one version of one type of magenta, you're gonna have a different result when the tattoo healed comparable when the tattoo is new. And obviously from the year to year to year, there are going to be differences. So that is also very, in some cases, bit misleading because we only see one part, we don't see the next part. So we only see when the tattoo, we don't even have seen when the tattoo have healed in the skin and properly make it so result. So I think that is a very I think that is a very important thing, really important thing, that more tattoo artists show side by side a new and the old tattoo, so we can really see how it looked when it healed and how it looked when it was new. And because it's much more, and really explain this kind of thing, because if you don't only see like, and that, I think this is also many big reason why so many people get misled, is because of this, because of they think that they can have that kind of color on their skin because they see the picture of it, and 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 this is also a problem. For example, when I get tattoos, is extremely complicated sometimes because you think that this color is safe. I mean, obviously, every ink you use in a professional tattoo store is safe for customers to have in their skin, most very often of the times. But what I mean with safe is that you do something, you you think that it looks amazing on your skin because you see a picture of it on the other person with darker skin tone, and that maybe that even that person have more darker skin tone than you, or or the same dark skin tone as you. But here is again the problem. So as repeat myself again, is that we only see when the tattoo is new. We don't see when it's healed on the skin, and this is a problem, especially for people with dark skin tone. Because if you are a tattoo artist, you have to tell in some way the customer, if they ask this kind of question, that this tattoo is not a healed picture, it's a new picture. Because for example, I can give you an example. If you go into my YouTube channel and you see I have done a picture with two different pictures with my frog tattoo, and if you see the picture when the tattoo was have the pipe and the shaft of the pipe is purple of the tattoo with the frog with the leaves come out from the pipes. That picture is when the tattoo is new, it's not healed. When you see the purple is not, and you don't see the purple anymore. This is the tattoo when they have healed 100%. But if you only see the picture of the frog with the purple, and I only show that part, you will think that purple works on darker skin tone because you see that picture of me with that tattoo. But that is not the case. And this is what I mean is misleading. That obviously, and I think I think tattoo artists should have more responsibilities, and obviously customers should also ask before, and obviously it's good to ask, but it's also important, especially if you're a professional, to have responsibility, especially if you. I will also have to say this: the purple was my own fault. It was not my tattoo artist's fault. It was my own fault because I want to try that, but Just for, as a tips is that if you see a picture of a color tattoo on a person with dark skin tone, brown, black, no matter, if you see that, ask your tattoo artist about this kind of thing. What Ask them, how will this color heal on my skin? How well will it heal with, and so on, because it's super important. Because it's almost like a commercial thing. So you don't so it's always important to ask this kind of thing, because and this is, I think this is this the problematic, this is the problem, is that more tattoos can show on the, like a huge site like Ink Mag or other big things, is that it's more like a commercial thing than how the thing. Like, for example, like small tattoos, they always say small tattoo can work. What can always how much detail they have is the thing that will make them, how long they will stay on the skin. And obviously maybe some people will get angry with when I say it like this, but is obviously is a very big difference is you how many times you touch up the tattoo in comparison how this tattoo will look if you don't touch it up any anyways. Do not touch it up. And that is important because you have to understand something, like it's one thing when you do the tattoo, then the tattoo is finished, and you wait 3 or 4 weeks, then the tattoo have healed, then everything is fine and you take care of it. If you take care of it, good. But the problem here is that if you go after maybe one year and you have to touch it up again, that means that the tattoo, every time you touch it up, means that the tattoo turned to be new again. It's not that the tattoo is stay good on the skin. You have, that is the thing here, is that so that I think is always everybody do what they want to do, but I think it's in some ways important that we should be much more. There should be much more explanation in some ways for customers in what will happen if you use, for example, that version of purple, or that brand of purple, and the other brand, to really makes it so that it works much better on the skin. And just explain things. For example, obviously people will want to help, but it's not helping if you show only one picture and you don't show the year result of that tattoo. Because even if the tattoo looks amazing when you see the picture, you don't even know when the picture was taken. It can be taken a week or a day before. Who knows? And this kind of thing. And obviously, with all of this, is that we have to in some way understand that when the tattoo looks the best is when the tattoo is new, especially when it's freshly new, and this means that this tattoo is taken in the picture in the studio, it's totally new. Then is the time when the tattoo looks the best. And reason why many tattoo artists want to take the picture right there is because commercial thing, is because they want new customers. So they don't want to show a tattoo when they have healed, especially if the tattoo was do not really, the color don't really work on that skin tone. And obviously it's because obviously of the background. For example, obviously dark people with darker skin tone can have yellow, but you have to have a green or a green background to make the yellow work, because if you only have yellow against brown, will turn like brownish. It's not going to work because it's not going to mix well together, for example, as some version of purple. And so it's not, so all of this, also how big the tattoo is, or the size of the tattoo, and obviously the placement, and all of this is important. But still the problem here is that some color will be different coloring. So with all of this kind of thing, yes, I think with all of this is that we have to really I think obviously the different skin tones mean have different undertone to the skin, and so on and so on. Obviously, we have much better ink nowadays in comparison. Older days, we have much better ink, but you s- but still that thing is that we is that we have like is two different things. Obviously, how the ink is made is one thing, and why, for example, if you can make, for example, turquoise blue, or green, or orange, or magenta, or red violet, and most of the time this kind of color works good on darker skin tone. But the other color, for example, uh, light pink, purple, uh, is colors that is not, and yellow is colors that do not work as well on darker skin tone. And this is the interesting thing, I think, with all of this, is that if one part of the color works, but the other part do not really work if you don't use some kind of background. But if I don't know if this is just the color, or is this how the ink is, so I say again, the ink is made. And I think all of this will have a really a I think it's difficult. It's extremely difficult, because first is that, as I said from the beginning, is that we only see picture. Most of the time we only see picture when the tattoo is new. The other thing, that is the easy part. The other thing is that how the ink is made. For example, how that ink is made to create that specific lightness or darkness of that specific color is also a thing that is very, because if you have, for example, dark red gonna look amazing on darker skin tone, because you're gonna see it very well, because it's same as dark green, like strong green is also gonna be very visible on darker skin tone. And for example, in comparison, for example, if you have turquoise blue and you compare it, for example, with tropical teal, turquoise, that is both of them are turquoise blue, but the other one is much darker version of turquoise blue, will also be more visible on the skin. But here, what I mean with the darker color is, for example, if you take dark purple on darker skin tone, gonna look much more like a black color, more like black, but not as black and real black, but more like that than purple. So here always is the background, because the background is dark. The purple gonna turn dark when the heal on the skin. But dark purple is similar to like in green in some ways, because it's hard to see the differences. Uh, for example, if you look at my tattoo, when I show it side by side, for example, you look at my green tiger, and you can see on the straps on the tiger is dark purple, but it's not easy to see the purple in and see the difference when the tattoo is new or is old in comparison with heel. And obviously you can see when this in the middle part of the tattoo, when you start to heal, then you see the tattoo is much lighter. So it's very interesting how you have really you really have a very, how can I say it? It's a I think it's a it's a different process, because I think, because it's much more newer today, that more people, when the more tattoo artists nowadays do tattoos on darker skin tone, and they are more, they learn this, the information spreads much faster right now to inform this kind of thing. And I think they obviously have, for example, learn, for example, I think color, for example, if you take example green, then you take, for example, I think that is the case here in some ways, that if you have green and you have a color that have green in them, for example turquoise blue, are bigger chance that this color work on darker skin tone. For example, if you have red, then you have red violet, you have hot you have one version of pink that is pink with more red in it, and you have, like, for example, magenta is red and blue. Then you have red violet, that is red, more red, it's like purple, but you have much more red in the mixture than you make normal purple. and it's bigger chance that this color works then, because the red is a color that in some reason that purple works better on darker skin tone than. So there is always, like, I think the red family have bigger chance to work on darker skin tone, especially the red that have lesser white ink in the mixture of these kind of. For example, if you have pink, then you have red pink. Like for example, other word is hot pink. You have pink that's much more red. This color, because it's more red, you have purple. Then you have red violet. Reason why red violet gonna work better and purple is because there's much more red. The same, and especially it's lesser white ink in it too, because you have more darker version, but it's still not as dark. But it's not some kind of in that way. What I mean with this kind of coloring, and obviously that is just that the color can work, but you still have this kind of thing of the. So what I want to see is obviously that we have much more different comparisons with different color on different darker skin tone, to see more how the tattoo looks when it was new and how the tattoo looks when they have healed on the skin, and year by year, side by side, to really show us much more. And I think I can do my tattoo, I can show them on my YouTube channel, but that is just one. There's so many other versions of dark skin tones. That so there's more. So really show the result of this kind of thing, because it's not gonna help if you just show a picture of a person with that color, but you don't show the tattoo when they later on, when the tattoo everything is healed properly on the skin, and so on. And I think that is very misleading, because you always want to help your customers. You don't want to. I think that is the biggest problematic, is that the other problem is that you don't want to show darker skin tone. You don't want to have diversity on your tattoo portfolio. That is one thing that is also problematic. But the other problematic is the misleading thing that we see. Obviously, maybe some color, maybe some new version of purple, maybe gonna work on darker skin tone well, and so on. But I still want to see a really healed tattoo, really see that, because I have tried purple with ink eternal, and purple do not work on my skin. And obviously I don't have the lightest version of dark skin tone. I don't have the darkest, absolutely not the darkest. So obviously this is all of this kind of thing. We still have that kind of like thing, and I think that is the thing for me, is that I really want to know more. I want to know why we don't have more like properly information. That just what I mean with this is that I don't mean that they just tell us green, orange, purple, red, or like magenta and so on. This is the color you're gonna choose. This color will work, because we have different version of magenta. We have different version of red. We have different version of orange. So, and different companies will have one different. They will make the orange look different, and so on, and this kind of thing. So this is obviously my question for the whole thing with this tattoo talk video, is obviously, is it the color that is the problem, or is it how the color is made for darkest, for how the color is made? And this is what is my biggest question here, is that, for example, if I try exactly the same lightness, I take a light purple, but the light purple is from a different brand. It's not Ink Eternal, it's a different brand. Will that have the same result? on my skin, that the healing, you don't see the color as well because it was too light, or will they have a different result on the skin when the tattoo have healed properly after 2 weeks? This is what I want to know. You can leave a comment if you know this kind of thing, if you really know this kind of thing. What I mean, if you know this kind of thing. And I don't know, there is a reason why I still this question in this video, is because of this. Because of, I think, so if that is the case, that if you change just different, if you take a different brand, both of them is, we say both the brand is vegan. Obviously, I only know the name of Ink Eternal. There is a reason why I don't see any name of the other tattoo brands. I don't know the name of them. But if you take a different brand, you take the same color that is light purple. If that is the case, that this version of purple will be a totally different result, will look much better, but it's the same lightness. That then the mean is, then the mean that it's not about the color, is how the color is made. But if the color is going to be the same result, that means it's about your undertone and the color, and so on. So I think, obviously, with all of this, is that I think that is the thing. So when I think that is super important. So if tattoo artists tell you this kind of thing, this color will not work on you, then they have to tell you that, then they have to really have tried that color on other customers with different version of darker skin tone. And there is a reason why you should, I don't say you have, but you should have diversity in your portfolio, because if you have diversity, that means you have tried different version of color on different customers with different skin tones, and you're gonna, and especially if you put that picture up and you ask your customer later on to send their picture when the tattoo have healed 4 weeks later, and they can put them side by side. Obviously, tattoo's gonna change different if you compare it to 4 weeks and compare them to 11 years and so on. But just for that start, because it's different with when we have this kind of it's almost like an open door for information. So it's one thing when you see the tattoo is new, but this tattoo have not yet permanent stay on the skin yet. So you can still scratch it off, you can damage it, but when the tattoo have healed and you don't need any plastic around the plastic wraps, or you don't need to use every day some kind of cream to protect it. This is what I mean when the tattoo have healed. So then you're gonna see how the tattoo will look for the rest of your life, with that color will stay, and so on, this kind of thing. And I think so. This is something I'm very personally interesting about, is that is it the color, or is that how the color is made? I would say I repeat myself lots of the time in this video, but I think this is the most interesting thing, because I think most of the tattoo artists just say to you that color they use, but they don't really tell in explanation in some ways. That is really what I want to see, more explanation for the different tattoo brands and how they are made and what is inside their mixture of the ink. And obviously the mixture, if they have different mixture, there was one YouTuber that talked about like white ink and different version of white ink is made in different ways. That has to mean that different other version of color is made in different ways, even if they are the same color, but they're made in different ways. And that have to mean that different version how they is made is how well stable this color is on the skin, and how in comparison in material how that color heals on the skin. Is, for example, if you talk, for example, with like like sword, for example, like how simple different material. So I can compare like a normal different iron type. You compare like, for example, you take Damascus steel. Obviously, this is different from the tattoo, obviously, but this the different material is always how hard the steel is. For example, how hard the blade is obviously in comparison. In some blades, it's much better in quality than other blade, and that is they have to be the same for tattooings. The different way, different ways how the ink is made have to be that the ink is better quality and that it's gonna be better on the skin and will stay longer on the skin in comparison to other color. For example, if you have one color, maybe it can stay like 5 years longer. It will have 5 year longer lasting time than the other version of that green, for example. So I think this is what the tattoo professional. Obviously, I'm just a person that gets tattoos. I collect tattoos. I'm not a professional. I'm not a tattoo artist. I'm just a normal person that likes tattoos, like art. Like art. So I want some like professional, like professionalist to look at this, like really in some ways looks at it. How can they see? How, for example, an easy comparison for how can you see in differences with, for example, purple or yellow, and they take for each different brand they take exactly the same lightness or darkness of that yellow, and they use it, and they see 5 weeks later what yellow was the best of all of the yellows, and they try on the skin of different on the, and they then the other part is that they have to have customers that have in some way similar skin tone to really show the right result, because if not, somebody have really dark and somebody have middle dark skin tone, then that the test is not gonna have any value, because you have to have a similarity in the comparison, this kind of thing. So yeah, I think this is what I want to see. I want to see this kind of thing because I want to know what if it is my skin tone, is it the undertone that makes it so that purple do not work or yellow do not work, or is it is again, repeat, is it just the color? Because color you can make many ways, many different ways. One type of color you can make green in many ways. That is just green, and this kind of thing. So yeah, that is everything I really want to say in this my tattoo talk video. And if you know, if you have tried different versions, for example, of yellow, and you have dark, obviously that sounds very maybe bad to say it like this, but I hope you understand what I mean when I say this. If you have tried yellow, or you have also tried different version of brand of yellow, but the same lightness or darkness of that yellow, if you have darker skin tone, and maybe you can tell me in the comment if you know any, if you have find any different outcome of this kind of thing, and this kind of thing. So hope you like it, and yeah, bye.